Let me be straight with you before we dive in. Everything here is based on public ingredient information, nutrition labels, and my own opinion as someone who reads the fine print for a living. I'm not accusing any one company of anything. I'm going to show you how peanut butter is actually made at the industrial level, what ends up in the jar that most people never notice, and how to read a label so you can pick a good one in about 10 seconds. Peanut butter feels like the ultimate innocent, wholesome food. And for the most part it can be. But some jars are hiding a lot more than peanuts. Let's get into it. Here's the core idea you need to understand. Real peanut butter should be, more or less, peanuts. Maybe a little salt. That's it. When you grind peanuts, they turn into a paste. The natural oil separates and rises to the top, and you've got peanut butter. Simple, wholesome. So the obvious question is, why do so many jars have a long list of other ingredients? And the answer to that question is where all the problems live. The first thing hiding in a lot of jars is added oils, and specifically hydrogenated oils. Here's why they're there. Remember how the natural oil separates and floats to the top of real peanut butter? A lot of people find that annoying. They don't want to stir it, so manufacturers add hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, often palm oil, to keep everything blended into that smooth, spreadable, never-separating texture. The convenience is real, but now your peanut butter contains added processed oils that were never part of the peanut. And historically, partially hydrogenated oils were a major source of artificial trans fats, which is exactly the kind of thing you'd rather not be spreading on your kid's sandwich every day. Let me say a fair word about palm oil specifically, because you'll see it constantly. Palm oil is used because it's solid at room temperature and stops separation cheaply. It's not a poison. But there are two real concerns worth knowing. One is that it adds a processed fat to a food that didn't need any added fat. The other is that palm oil production has a genuinely serious environmental footprint tied to deforestation. So when you see palm oil in your peanut butter, it's there to fix a texture problem that only exists because people didn't want to stir. That's the whole reason. The second thing hiding in a lot of jars is added sugar. This one surprises people the most. Plain roasted peanuts are not sweet, but a huge number of mainstream peanut butters have sugar added, sometimes several forms of it. It's there because sugar makes almost everything more addictive and palatable. And because once your taste buds get used to sweetened peanut butter, the plain stuff tastes boring by comparison. So they've essentially trained a whole population to expect dessert-flavored peanut butter and call it normal. Flip the jar. If sugar shows up high on the ingredient list, you're not eating a savory food anymore. You're eating a mildly sweet one. The third thing is added salt in heavy amounts. A little salt is fine and honestly makes peanut butter taste great. But some products lean on a lot of salt to make a mediocre product taste like something. Salt isn't evil, but if you're eating this daily, the amounts add up in ways you didn't sign up for. The fourth thing, and this is the sneakiest, is the reduced fat trap. You'd think reduced fat peanut butter would be the healthy choice. Here's the catch. The fat in peanuts is largely the good kind, the naturally occurring fat that comes with the whole food. When manufacturers pull some of that fat out, they often replace it with, you guessed it, added sugars, starches, and fillers to make up for the lost texture and flavor. So the healthier reduced fat jar can actually end up with more sugar and more processed fillers than the regular one. It's a perfect example of a health marketing word doing the opposite of what you assume. The fifth thing to be aware of is the flavored and spread category. The chocolate peanut spreads, the honey roasted versions, the whipped varieties. These can be delicious, but many of them are essentially candy in a peanut butter costume, loaded with added sugars and oils. Again, no problem if you know that's what you're buying. The problem is buying it thinking it's a health food and handing it to your kids as one. There's a sixth thing I want to mention because it's rarely talked about, and I'll be balanced about it. Aflatoxins. Peanuts are actually legumes that grow in the ground, and under poor growing or storage conditions they can develop a mold that produces compounds called aflatoxins. Now, here's the balanced part. Food safety regulators set strict limits, and major peanut butter processors test and blend to keep levels low, which is actually one case where large-scale processing helps. So this isn't a reason to panic about peanut butter. It's a reason to buy from sources that handle and store their peanuts properly, and to not eat peanuts or peanut butter that smell off or taste bitter and stale. And there's a seventh thing worth calling out on its own, because it's aimed squarely at families. The kid-marketed snack products, the little dippable cups, the crackers and spread packs, the peanut butter-filled snacks. A lot of these use the sweetened, oil-stabilized version of peanut butter and pair it with refined crackers or added sugar. Then wrap the whole thing in cheerful packaging with cartoon lettering. Parents grab them because peanut butter reads as protein and wholesomeness. But the version inside those convenience packs is very often the most processed one on the shelf, precisely because it needs to survive a long time at room temperature in a plastic tray. Convenience has a cost, and here the cost is usually more sugar and more stabilizing oil. Let me also put the money side on the table, because this matters. People assume the natural, clean ingredient peanut butter must be the expensive luxury option. Often it's the opposite. A plain jar of just peanuts or the grind-your-own machine at the store is frequently cheaper per serving than the big-name sweetened brands with their marketing budgets and their fancy no-stir formulas. So eating clean here doesn't have to cost you more. In a lot of cases, the honest product is also the cheaper product, which almost never happens in the grocery store, so take the win. Now let me hand you the red flags you can use the next time you're standing in that aisle. Red flag number 1. An ingredient list longer than 2 or 3 items. Real peanut butter needs peanuts and maybe salt. If the list runs on with oils, sugars, and words you don't recognize, that length itself is the warning. Red flag number 2. The word hydrogenated anywhere. Partially hydrogenated or fully hydrogenated oils are there to fix the texture, not to help you. Their presence is a clear signal you're holding a heavily engineered product. Red flag number 3. Sugar listed high, or listed multiple times under different names. Manufacturers sometimes split sugar into several different types, so no single one appears near the top of the list, which makes the total sugar look smaller than it is. If you see sugar, cane syrup, and something else sweet all in one list, add them up in your head. Red flag number 4. No need to stir, as a selling point. That smooth, permanently blended, never separating texture is almost always achieved with added stabilizing oils. Real natural peanut butter separates. That oily layer on top isn't a defect, it's a sign of authenticity. Red flag number 5. Reduced fat on the front. As we covered, this often means the good natural fat was swapped for sugar and fillers. Treat that phrase as a reason to flip the jar and read carefully, not as a green light. Before the good picks, a quick word on the powdered peanut butter trend, since people ask about it. Powdered peanut butter is made by pressing most of the oil out of peanuts and grinding what's left into a powder. For someone specifically cutting fat and calories, plain versions can be a reasonable tool. Just check the label, because some powdered versions add sugar and salt too. As always, the ingredient list tells the truth. All right, the fair part. I don't want you to think all peanut butter is a trap, because it genuinely isn't. Good, clean, honestly made peanut butter is cheap and everywhere once you know the signal. Here are the 3 categories that are actually safe. Safe pick number 1. Natural peanut butter with an ingredient list that says peanuts. That's it. Maybe peanuts, salt. When you turn the jar and see a 1 or 2 word ingredient list, you've found the real thing. Yes, the oil separates, and you have to stir it. Here's a pro tip for that. Store the jar upside down for a while before you open it, so the oil redistributes, then stir. That minor inconvenience is the price of it being real, and honestly, you get used to it in a week. Safe pick number 2. Freshly ground peanut butter, the kind some stores let you grind yourself from a machine right there. It's about as pure as it gets, just peanuts turned into paste in front of you. Nothing added, nothing hidden. If your store has one of those machines, that's peanut butter in its most honest form, and it usually costs less than the premium jarred stuff. Safe pick number 3. Any brand that proudly keeps it simple and says so. There are plenty of companies whose entire selling point is a short, clean ingredient list. No added sugar, no hydrogenated oils, just peanuts and maybe salt. When a brand's whole identity is built on having nothing to hide, That's usually a brand worth trusting. You're not paying for marketing, you're paying for restraint. So here's your 10-second routine at the shelf. Flip the jar. Read the ingredients, not the front. If it says peanuts and maybe salt, you're done. Buy it. If it says hydrogenated oils, added sugars, and a paragraph of extras, put it back. That's the entire skill. It takes 10 seconds, and it protects you for life. And here's the mindset I want to leave you with. The reason all this stuff ends up in the jar isn't some evil plot to harm you. It's that added oils stop the separation people complain about. Added sugar makes it more addictive. And reduced fat sells because it sounds healthy. Every one of those choices makes the product cheaper to produce or easier to sell more of. And there's simply no business model in leaving well enough alone when tinkering sells better. But now you know the tricks, and a 10-second label check beats every marketing team on earth. If this made you want to go check the jar in your own pantry right now, hit subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel does. It hands you back the power to see what you're actually buying. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.